I apologize for that last short video. I'm not necessarily 100% sure what happened, but I paused it and I couldn't go back to it. So here is our last video segment for today. So we were talking about Iran and talking about the importance of oil, and we do see that oil is going to become important after World War I. So I use it in my planes, and I use it in my tanks, and I use it in terms of byproducts in grenades. Part of the plastic, to make plastic, I need to have petroleum. I need it for my trucks. So we are now seeing that oil is going to become important. And again, we know that in 1908, we are going to find oil inside of Iran. So controlling oil means controlling other countries and basically controlling trade. So the British are not willing to give up that control, which is one of the reasons why that they are going to try to make agreements with the Iranian government and also try to make sure that they are favored over the Russians. So basically what ends up happening, okay, we already have the Anglo-Persian treaty that is going to be signed. The vast majority of your profits are going to go to the British, and only 16% of the profits are going to go to Iran. And you start to see that there is a great differential between British living inside of Iran and Iranians. The Iranian workers make 50 cents a day. They live in shanty towns without running water or electricity, and they basically are living a relatively, hard life and hard existence. On the other side of that, we're going to see the British. The British managers who are living in Iran are living in manicured lawns. They've got rose beds, they have swimming pools and tennis courts. They have all these other amenities, so they're living pretty much a pretty good life. This differential is what's going to lead to the population revolting against British control. All right, so Iran, again, not in a good geopolitical position. They do not have a lot of power inside the Middle East. They're being fought over by two important empires, so the British and also the Russians. And again, they are not controlling any of their oil profits that potentially could give them a better geopolitical position. So the British are controlling their profits, and to make it even worse, if Iran did think that they would like to try to revolt, they have to deal with the fact that Great Britain does already have troops nearby in order to protect the Suez Canal. So the Suez Canal eventually is going to be built. It is going to be a massive shortcut that is going to increase economic potential for the British because I can get from India to Europe and vice versa relatively quickly now through the Suez Canal. However, Great Britain needs to maintain access to the canal. They are there because they have invested heavily in the financing of the Suez Canal, but also they are there because they are trying to make sure that the canal stays open. It doesn't fall under Egyptian control. So the canal also is going to be something that Russia is interested in controlling. Obviously, controlling the canal controls all of your trade. So to avoid being conquered, Iran is going to sign further agreements with the British. Okay, so Russia's knocking at the door. So Iran is going to agree to supply munitions and equipment for the British Army, British trained army. They're going to agree to $2 million in sterling loan for necessary reform. They're going to reduce the customs tariffs, so Iran's going to make even less than they were before, and they're going to prevent surveying of the country and building railroads. So Great Britain is now not just going to be in the oil areas, they're going to start to spread out to other parts of the country. For the mass majority of people, this is not a good deal. The deal basically is going to turn Iran into a British colony. Although it's not, officially a colony, the government has no control over what happens. They have no control over finances, and they've allowed Great Britain access to the interior of the country. It really is not until Reza Pahlavi, which is Pahlvai, is going to overthrow the government in 1925 that you start to look at the increasing of Iranian nationalism. He is going to try to nationalize the oil industry. For many people, the key here is Iranian control of oil. If they control oil, they'll gain the economics necessary in order to make them a player in this new world game. So he's going to try to introduce a whole bunch of economic reforms, social and political reforms to regain control of the country. Their reforms are going to basically called the White Revolution, and it's aimed at basically decreasing the power of the British and increasing the power of Iran. They start with land redistribution as well. State-owned factories are going to be sold to individuals, moving towards what we consider to be a more market-based economy. And we are also going to start to see that in terms of religion, the Shah is going to solidify power by gaining support from peasants and working class people. So I also see an increase in religious identification as well. The British are concerned about all of this because they want to be able to maintain their access to the oil fields, but they're not necessarily 100% sure how they are, what they're going to do in response to this increased push of Iranian. All right, so after we nationalize the oil industry, Pahlavi is also going to try to want to renegotiate oil terms with the British, which obviously is great for Iran, but it's not going to be good for Great Britain, which is why they're not going to agree to do this. The British just basically flat out refuse to renegotiate because they're not going to lose any more money. Pahlavi then turns to the other player in the game, which is the Russians. So he says, you know what, maybe I get into an oil deal with Russia instead of the British. And he's going to end up signing the Persian-German Agreement in 1941. The Britain is basically, obviously, relatively upset about this, and they really understand that they cannot control Pahlavi anymore. They had a leader, they thought he was going to be a puppet leader, he ends up not being a puppet leader, so now the next step is, I need to get rid of Pahlavi. I need to get rid of him in order to establish a new government that is actually going to be able to be controlled by the British. So they actually are going to support his son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, to take over, and he is going to overthrow the government. When he does overthrow the government, he does agree that he's going to cooperate with the West and cooperate with the Allies, and basically Iran is going to be under British control. All right, so that's the end of Iran. So we've got a couple other countries to do, but I am going to do them on Thursday. Tomorrow I will be back and we will spend the day going over your papers. And then on Thursday we'll start with the Ottoman Empire. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.